All right, what's up, guys? So, I'm doing a small little update video on Blue and Red. Red did not really receive a change to his overall appearance, as you can see here. He just simply changed position, right? But Blue has received a complete overhaul on their design, if you will. Um, the goal was to make Blue water-based, but I was trying too hard to make them water-based, and that made them look like this, which was under-designed and shit. The colors don't even match properly. But that's one of the changes. The other changes is a structural change to Red and Blue, and possibly any other complex character I make in the future. Please let that update come already with infinite stick node figure things. So if we look at Red's design, right, it's a fairly simplistic design, some square shoulders, some arms, blah blah blah, some knees, right. However, there was always an issue when I was animating, and that is that when I am trying to make Red's arm do this, right, bend, it leads to cracks in the arm in specific spots, right? Like stuff like this will happen, or let's say his arm is bended and I rearrange the actual stick node, the nodes needed to move it, and I try to move it back into place. This will happen, right? Essentially, I have to move the actual base stick figure for it to look proper, right? This means that there is a structural fault in the design of this character. Same thing with his shoulders. Sometimes they'll crack from time to time like that, right? Now, this doesn't happen when their knees because there's so many more so many much more nodes on their knees. The other faulty design on Red is that if you pay attention to his knee pad, it's not moving. It's connected to this, but that's not what is actually going to make it move. It's supposed to be connected to this because it's his knee pad, right? And as we all know, if you wear armor on your legs, primarily on your knees and your shin, it's usually connected to your knees anyway. So most likely anything that you wear here would be connected to whatever's up here, right? Um, for Blue, as you can see, Blue's overall design completely changed, but she received the same structural changes as Red, which I will now go over now. The structural changes is that I added shoulders, all right? I added shoulders and elbows to the characters, all right? And the shoulders and elbows don't exactly line up when pulled apart, but that's just something that happens if you overstretch a limb anyway. It'll come apart. But when you switch over the arm, right, it looks a little bit more proper because now it isn't using the base stick figures to actually function, right? And if I rearrange them, now it looks completely fixed, right? Same thing here. And if I move it back into place, it should line up almost perfectly. Essentially, it's like creating a joint, right? Something to cover up the joints. And that's what I did to essentially change the structure. Now you can see I don't have to worry about it cracking, or like it cracks under there. As you can see, it's already cracked. But now I don't need to worry about the cracking because this joint is here. Same thing for the shoulder, right? Same thing for the shoulder. If I can click the right thing. Same thing for the shoulder up there. If I move it, it'll look proper, right? You know, as I move it like that. But yeah, it won't crack is my point. It won't crack, and I can just adjust it as need be. And the other trade-off is that it actually makes it more detailed and more realistic, since now essentially Red has shoulder muscles, and if I make his arm stretch like this, instead of it looking like, let's make this do in the same position, this, right? Or let's say I'm actually animating and I want it to look proper and I'm trying to cover it up, instead of it looking like this, right, where there's like nothing here, now we have a little bit of more detail there because you know you have the little flap under your armpit that connects your arm to your torso, that little flap of skin, right? So essentially, the structural change also led to a design fix as well. So this is also applied to Blue, right? Blue has received the same structural changes in the arms and shoulders, all right, elbows and shoulders, sorry, on top of a overall base design change as well, which they were greatly needing. Not gonna lie, the last design was kind of shit. This design I find to be way better. They have a little bit more muscular to them. The shoulder pads also led to another functionality that I didn't think they would lead to, in the form of making it to where I don't have to actually separate the stick figure, right, to make actual like certain designs. Like for instance, they're supposed to be essentially wearing a piece of armor that only covers their chest, and this armor doesn't cover their arm, right? This means that I would have to either redesign the arm or put something here under the arm that covers it. I don't need to do that because now they have a shoulder that's poking out anyway. Other than that, I made Red's dagger, right? It's a little big, but that's because I was just animating it in regular size, and a throwing dagger. It's also the same size as this one roughly, but I made it smaller. The sword, I made Blue's sword and Blue's dagger. Blue's sword doesn't come from the original part of something. In fact, they didn't even have a sword. Blue's sword comes from a part of something reboot or POSR. Blue's sword is a long katana, essentially, that Red is essentially steals, I think, at some point, or that I was planning on having him steal, but I think I re-chose it. And then they also have a throwing dagger. Once again, these two are essentially the same character. However, they are just different. They're different in design. All right, they're the same character. They're different in design. The reason I made them, that's why I keep giving them the same stuff. Whatever Red's gonna have, Blue is either gonna have something similar or slightly different, or just something entirely different, depending on if I want them to be completely different. But yeah. So overall design change for Blue, structural change for both of them, and any future stick figure that I make. I don't feel the need to apply this change to the legs, but I did just in case anyway for the shin guards. All right, and the toes, well, the toes, I just changed their color overall. It's a whatever thing. Yeah. So yeah, Blue has got a redesign. Red has got a redesign. They both have weapons. I have to make animations for Blue, which I haven't done. I have to make moves for Blue as well, which I also haven't done. But I think I might make a test animation to see how Blue functions. That way I know what to actually animate and how to animate it. All right, see ya.